Hello everyone. I just wanted to take the opportunity today to talk about two very important figures in my life. That would be my dad and my stepdad. Now, being raised in a divorced family was always kind of difficult. I know it was frustrating for probably both of them to see me gravitating so much towards my friends. Without having one steady home environment, I think that became the easy solution, as opposed to gravitating more towards family and family time. It also didn't help that I was, very quiet as a kid and introverted, and I've retained a lot of that. But because of who they are, that's helped shape me into the person that I am. Their influences have helped me to develop into a healthier person. So let's get this started. Obviously I met one of them first. It was a quarter of a century ago. My dad was around throughout my entire life. Sometimes he was a little further away than others. I only got to see my actual dad on weekends and summers. And then, once I graduated from high school, he moved back to his home in Pennsylvania, so visits became even more infrequent, but he has worked very hard to keep in touch, and I always enjoy the time that we do get to spend together. My dad is the one who bought me my first gaming console. It was a Sega Genesis with Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Before this time, my heroes had been the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is why my favorite color was green during my earlier years, but there was a dramatic shift in paradigm, and suddenly Sonic the Hedgehog became my hero, and because of that, my favorite color to this day is still blue. As I often tell people, it's a very generic color with a very interesting backstory, and so that's what that is. So, after I got this gaming system, it really developed my love of games. Later on in life, he was the first person to be a dungeon master for me as we played through Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, he, my sister, and I. And, to this day, Sonic the Hedgehog is one of my greatest video game influences, and Dungeons & Dragons is one of my favorite activities with friends. So, big influence on just who I am and how I have shaped as a nerd and how I choose to spend my time there. For any of you who have heard me yelling and screaming at video games as I have died numerous times and lost hours of unsaved data, that all started back in the day on Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and my dad will confirm my many hours in front of that screen watching that little blue sphere of a hedgehog collide with spikes and fall off cliffs, and the various frustrated noises and words and profanities that would occasionally slip out. So, I don't want to say that he caused that, because I don't think that it's really fair to peg that on him. But he played a role in the early development of that. He played a role from the beginning in that pattern in my life. So, if any of you are looking for his fingerprints, I don't know, you might be able to argue that there's a little bit there, but we won't say that just yet. He tried to teach me to like baseball at an early age, I think. We went to a couple of games in my earlier childhood, and he got me, gloves, and we threw the ball around and stuff like that when I was really young. That didn't really pan out. I was never much of a sporty type of child. I did pick up my love of hockey from him. I'm not an avid watcher, but if there is a major league sport that I consider to be an actual sport, it would be hockey. So his fingerprints were evident there. Whenever my crazy hippie lady of a stepmom and I sit down for conversations, we always enjoy ourselves, but I know there's always contention between two different kind of worldviews, and I know that me and my dad often end up ganging up against her, stacking some of our doctrinal beliefs and such, which isn't always fair, but I know that that she's a tough lady and she can handle it. And there have been some nearly unkind words exchanged out of frustration, but it's never gotten to an unmanageable level. So that's fun. I'm wearing a special shirt today. This is actually in honor of today. It is a shirt for Python Fest, which is an event that I attended with my father a couple summers ago, where basically we went to a little town in Pennsylvania where they had like a little independent movie house where they had like, you know, a movie screen with a projector, and they actually, onto the big screen, they projected Monty Python and the Holy Grail. They served Spam, they had trivia questions, and we came home with like empty halves of coconuts and t-shirts and such, and so that was a lot of fun. It was especially significant because Monty Python, among a few other select movies, played an important role in my childhood, in that using quotes from this, you know, handful of 5 or 6 movies basically was how my father and I communicated for the better part of my childhood and well into my teenage years. Between Monty Python and the Holy Grail, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, The Three Amigos, and a handful of others, that was basically where most of what we said to one another originated. And so that is definitely carried over into adulthood. My friend Nathaniel, this week or so ago, was very fed up with me and our mutual friend John because we were quoting Futurama pretty much without end. And when I'm around people who are quoters, it's pretty much non-stop, and I owe a lot of that, as well as my memorization skills, to my father, because not only did he give me half of the brain that I used to record all the information on, but because my brain was so wired early on to picking up movie lines and that kind of thing, it just made it so I memorize lines and information almost instantly. So, thanks, Dad. Hey, it's your fault. My stepdad entered the picture, I feel like I was about 3. That's what I usually end up telling people, and I think that tends to map out correctly when we compare timelines. My stepdad has been physically more present, just because I was located, I stayed with my mom, and obviously he's married to the woman, so there's going to be more proximity there. And I think he helped me to understand a little bit better what it means to be an introvert with extroverted tendencies, because he does have that side to himself, and he is a little bit reclusive at times, but there was a period during high school when I rarely left my room. I would spend time with friends occasionally, and I would get up and go to school, but there were some days when I would be playing video games from the moment that I got home till about 2 hours before I had to leave for school, when I would crash and get a couple hours sleep and then go to school again, and that was basically what my life was for those periods of time. I think that was rough adjustment just because everyone's family roles were changing and we didn't really know what to make of what. But I think the divorce was difficult on me as a kid, and it was probably really frustrating for him to deal with. The awkward nature of trying to bring 2 families together in the same house, whether that's, the siblings trying to get along together, which, there were 2 new siblings in addition to, myself and my sister. And I think everything taken into consideration, I think that we did the best that we could, and I think that everything turned out all right. And so he's always been very encouraging in trying to push me to grow myself and be more present in the real world. I know pretty much all of my family has been a part of that process of trying to get me to participate in the real world. They're not always very good at it. I constantly tell people that one of my family's favorite games to play is Let's All Keep Paul in the Dark, and they're very good at it, and part of that is because I am not always checked into the conversation when I'm in a room, and sometimes I'm just not in the room at all. I sometimes feel like I'm in a giant family of extroverts and am the only introvert, and when I run off to recharge my batteries is when all of the planning tends to take place, because people aren't out and about and doing everything, so then they're planning their next move while I have to recover from things. And there's some frustrations there. They get fed up with me not being prepared for things, and I get fed up with them not taking the extra step to make sure that I'm present when the conversations take place. And it's kind of a chicken-egg thing. I don't know if there's ever really going to be a perfect solution to things. I was so excited one time. I actually was present when the planning was happening, because I was in the car on the way back from a trip, and I was so excited, and I thought I knew what was happening, and so I was exhausted because I'd spent so much time with people and had involved myself in the conversation on the ride home. So I went upstairs and I took a nap, and when I woke up, people were there that I wasn't expecting to be there. And then I came downstairs and I'm like, what happened to the plan? And they were like, oh, we changed the plan while you were sequestering yourself in your room. And I was like, I wasn't sequestering myself. I crashed because I've been around people for, 2.5 days solid with no time to myself. But off topic. Hopefully I will have abridged this part. But I think that my stepdad, he's always been very self-sacrificing. He will constantly be, taking time out of whatever he's doing if you need him to be there for something, and I've invested a lot of trust in him. My stepdad has always worked very hard to encourage me to be mature, which his idea of maturity and my idea of maturity have not always looked the same. I know that he doesn't always understand my views, and I don't always agree with his, and we do our best to make peace between the two of us, and I know that he trusts me to make decisions, even if he feels like he has to guide me now and then. But I know that a lot of times that he's guiding me is because if I do make decisions, he's oftentimes dealing with the aftermath of them. So I do appreciate the patience there, and a lot of times my trust can seem like a lack of appreciation, but that is not the case. I do want to take a little bit of time to talk about gifts. If there is a weakness that I have when it comes to big days like this, it's that I rarely, if ever, actually have gifts for people. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is, which is not to say that I'm going to talk about why it's okay that is, because I don't think that it is. I think that the people that I care about deserve to have the recognition that a gift affords, and that doesn't mean just throwing money around, but like actually gifts. I've not been in a completely stable place for most of my life. Sometimes have been more stable than others. I'm actually at a place where I'm decently stable right now, but I don't exactly have money rolling in. And I rarely ever buy things for myself. It's usually only every couple of years that I go clothes shopping. I only shop for groceries when it's an absolute necessity, when I'm, out of food to eat. I even refuse most of the time to carry any kind of credit card or debit card, because I know that if I have the freedom to spend money at will, then that creates a temptation to spend money that I don't have. So I usually will make do with just cash and that sort of thing. And there are plenty of things that I've seen that have made me think of my dad and my stepdad that I wish that I could buy them every time. There's one clothing item that I've been meaning to get for my dad for the last couple of years that I'm not going to spoil for him in this video, but I know that when he gets it, because he will get it someday from me and he will love it, that it will amuse him in such a way that he may never wear another item of this type again. So there's something to look forward to there. So a reminder to both of you just because I haven't gotten you anything on this Father's Day doesn't mean that I haven't been aware of the upcoming holiday and that I'm not planning on celebrating it. Hopefully I will get in a good conversation with both of you by the end of the day. But this is here as a reminder. And this will always be on my account, so you can always find it here if you need it. But I do love both of you. You're both very important to me, and you have, in one way or another, shaped who I am and how I live now. So, without the influences that I've had and the support that I've had, I would not be the same person that I am right now. So thank you for that. And I wish you both a happy Father's Day. To anyone else who happens to be watching right now, have a challenging day.